Welcome. Good to
Yeah,
be with
man.
you. This is Going Places podcast is it's an idea that we had here. It's like, man, I really want to just build and connect with so many people doing interesting things and transitioning between chapters and journeys and having pushed the bounds on all the work that you've already done. You were literally the first person that came to mind. So I appreciate you making time.
Awesome, man. No, I love a good idea.
Awesome. Okay. So this is a bio-free zone. Like we'll queue up bio and all that stuff. And I find it super redundant to like talk about so tell me about this. And then, so just like today, this moment in time right now, you are super well known for Local Lear. You are particularly well known within that venture for, having raised through individual angel contributions.
Mm-hmm.
Super well known for having been banging the Austin drum well before it is what it is right now.
12 plus years.
12 plus years. And now teasing out some, potential directions that you will go in the future. Mm-hmm. Just bring me into your mind space right now. I mean, you kind of been there, done that with the startup space. I mean, tell me the things that you liked most about your journey thus far as a startup entrepreneur. We can start there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that when people ask me, what do I do? Yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but the thing that I am the most proud of and enjoy the most is building community. Mm-hmm. And I know that's important to you as well. And when I look at the things that I've done, especially here in Austin, I mean, the first business that I started in Austin was a sneaker boutique. And not only was it a sneaker boutique, but it was a pop-up shop where we would literally pop up at hip hop shows, music festivals. So we literally were bringing the sneakers to the audience rather than waiting for them to come in to us. And so that was a big part of how I started. And honestly, a lot of the people who know me in tech today, some of them were my customers back then in 2009, 10. So it's a kind of an interesting journey that I've taken to get to where I am. But the through line of all the things I've done, whether it's a sneaker boutique or creating a fashion part of South by Southwest, or now with Localer, it's always been around community, and specifically leveraging something that either Austin was known for, which in the case of Localer, like local is something that when people think of Austin, that's a big ingredient, mm-hmm. or something that I felt like Austin wasn't known for and should. So in the case of like the South by Southwest style event, South by Southwest has been happening for years. It's mm-hmm. always been music. It's always been tech. It's always been, film. But to me, it would seem like a weird thing that somehow style wasn't a part of that, considering how important that is to all those other things. And so to me, I've always been trying to say, hey, like, let's bring people together who care about this thing and make something of it.
And you also do a lot. Talk about going places. Like, you do a lot of, you physically move through space a lot, because in addition to Localer and the company that you're running, you make time for community activations. And I see you doing vaccinations and stuff on the weekends, which is the Lord's work. Thank you. And then you manage artists, one of whom is your fiance. And so you're dabbling in different things. How do you, I guess, make what is the through line for all the different things that you do in your life?
You know what, for me, it's like, yes, community is like I said, that's a key ingredient. But the other thing is, I really feel like I try to be someone who gives to the things that I love as much, if not greater than what I'm trying to extract. Like I manage my fiance.
I love that, by the way.
Thank you. Angelica Ray is my fiance, and I manage her. I also manage a couple of musicians named Jake Sherman and Abe Browns, who are talented musicians who have a duo called Jake and Abe that'll debut later this year. And there's another artist who I booked his tour with before the pandemic shut it down last year, named Soft Glass, and he put a new album out. And I was like beating the drum on Twitter of like, man, like listen to this guy's discography. He's a great artist. And he's like, man, I really appreciate all the stuff that you do to support me as an artist. And I was like, I straight up replied. I was like, honestly, I'm just trying to give back to you as much as I feel like you're giving to me. You know, like if I'm spending an hour listening to your music, for me, my mind is, okay, how can I spend an hour as a fan to give him back the hour I just got? Right. So I think about that with everything I do, whether that's like volunteering in the city of Austin, getting involved in politics. Like to me, it's like for every pound I take, I want to put a pound in.
Wow. That's beautiful, man. So like, what is what is the current iteration in your mind of like fostering community in a world where offline is, well, I mean, we're turning the corner on it, but like offline is not, for a while was like not as acceptable or whatever, or possible. So like as a community builder myself, you know, I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do we embrace a reality where like we have to over index for online and amplify efforts through online? Like obviously you're super active on Twitter.
Yeah.
You have a big platform via writing in a world where a lot of people that are creators over index for video and audio.
Yeah.
You've interestingly have like doubled down on writing, which I think is really cool. So you kind of have your own white space. How do you see this, like this blend of offline, online, in the context of building community in today's era?
You just touched on one, which is, you know, for me, I picked my lane, and the lane that I'm in for me is I have always valued having a sense of place. So being in Austin, like when I moved back to Austin in late January 2009, I committed to this city. And so now at this point now where so many people are moving to Austin, they're coming to me, not because I'm the person, just because they know me, but because they know that I know Austin. And so I'm at a point now where I don't have to go to the community anymore for Austin. The community comes to me. So that's a big part of it. And then you talked about me writing, and that's another thing. Like, you know, everyone has their own lanes that they can do well in. Like, you know, I've had friends who have, you know, been spending a lot of time on Clubhouse the last 6 months, and that's great for them. For me, like I'm a words guy. I'm a written word guy, especially. So that's my lane. My lane is building community by writing things, seeing who that engages, who that amplifies, who feels like they're connected to the words that I've written, and then activating them to do something after the words, right? So some people, they're doing that with audio, some people are doing that with video, but for me, it's words. And I think, you know, and you know, again, you know this, it's really just about being really consistent with the lanes that you've picked. You know, like, yeah, you can, you know, I've played in a lot of sandboxes in terms of, managing musicians. I'm working around politics. I'm in nonprofit boards. I'm in tech. It seems like a lot of sandboxes, but to me, they're all two lane. This all just like, I'm going back and forth between, is it around Austin? Does it have something to do with Austin, or does it have something to do with the community that I care about? If it's not one of those, then I'm not getting into another lane.
Was there a moment when it occurred to you that you are a real recognized leader of this city that you poured so much into?
You know what? I think the point was a few, I'm trying to think I can't remember actually what day this was, but Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, obviously he came to Austin, and he went to Capital Factory, which is like kind of like a startup hub here in downtown Austin. They're investors in my company. Obama has been there before. So basically Tim Cook came, and I was one of 5 founders that was invited to pitch, basically demo my app to him. And I just remember that my photo was the one with him that they put in the newspaper. And I just remember how it kind of, to me, what I realized is that photo, it spoke to the people in Austin who wanted to see a better version of their city through my experience.
Wow.
You know, because I realized they were like, they were expecting it to be, you expected it to be like two white guys, right? Like a white guy pitching Tim Cook, another white guy. But it was me. And so I realized that, man, people really resonated with not only the photo, but just like me having had that experience. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, like this is a thing that maybe it doesn't transfer to LA or New York, but it's here in Austin.
So what has it been like for you? It's funny because like, so in business, like when you take an industry bet, right? Like crypto, like I know some people that just banging down crypto, or whatever, NFTs, whatever. And like, I'm an early-ish adopter, but I'm not super early.
Yeah.
And then it's gotta be super rewarding when the rest of the market catches up. And now you get the upside of like, I've been told y'all, you got that right with a place. And now nationally and perhaps even internationally, Austin is recognized as the place, and you now get the lift, whether intentional or unintentional.
Yeah.
The real the real byproduct of you having been vocal for as long as you have is now you were that guy that was telling me about Bitcoin in 2014 when I could have got it for 25 cents. And now it's like, okay, you're now in this place. So what comes, I mean, and just for like folks that will listen to this, republished on a lot of publications, your Dear Austinite
magazine, Business Insider,
like, ton of them, right? So what has come with that? Like, are you having a bunch of people like reach out and like ask like silly things like recommendations, or like walk me through the spectrum of what that's brought?
Oh man, yeah, it's definitely a lot of like random people that feel like, it's almost like it's weird to think that the bigger your profile gets, the more random people think that they should get 30 minutes or an hour of your time. It's like, I'm not getting less busy now, I'm getting more busy. So that's interesting. But the other side of the spectrum though is that especially because of writing now, I have editors reaching out to me, so yeah, I'm pitching ideas to some of them, but now some of them are pitching me on like, this is an idea that we want someone to write about, and we think you are uniquely equipped to write about this thing. So that's really interesting. I think the other angle is there are people who have seen me move, especially here in Austin, move around in the city for years now, and they've observed kind of at an arm's length maybe, and now they realize, they're like, you know what? Even if he's not doing the thing the same way that I would do it, I appreciate that he really believes in the way that he's doing it. So I support him. Like I have investors who, maybe the other 99 out of 100 investments they've made, they're like, I am betting in someone who has a track record, who has a serial entrepreneur, or I'm betting in someone who, Sequoia and Axel and every big VC in the world said that I should invest in, right? Versus when they invest in me, I think they very much understand that it's not just about, the signaling and like the potential outcome. It's about feeling like I'm going to also do what I'm doing in a very honest way. And in a lot of ways, I'm going to make them have to be more honest about the other decisions that they're making. So like, I know for a fact that there are prominent Black entrepreneurs, for example, who have raised money from investors of mine, in which they invested in me first. And I either subtly, subconsciously, whatever, helped them have the courage to want to invest in these other Black founders. And so like, that's my seat at the table now. It's like helping other people understand things that maybe an entrepreneur who's more focused on like kind of like the business building part of it and less of the community part of it wouldn't have the time or take the time or have the words to communicate to them.
So you've teased out publicly that you would enter the realm of politics. You're uniquely well equipped to do so. I want to talk about two things in that realm. One would be like the things that you like, some of the vision that you have for what you could bring to the city. But before we talk about that, I would love to talk about what are the things that you learned from your journey thus far that equips you to do this role uniquely well, like in a new generation way?
Yeah. Well, I think that what your question kind of hits at is, what is for me, it's how does my lived experience shape what type of person I could potentially be in public office? And for me, it's, well, my lived experience is that I am the youngest of three boys in a single mother household, grew up on food stamps, first person in my family to graduate from college. And so I know what it feels like to be under-resourced and underestimated. And this city, especially, for example, has a lot of people who they are heavily under-resourced. And meanwhile, they're watching people on the other part of the city getting all the benefits, but they're like, wait, but I'm just as talented, I'm just as capable, but they don't have access, right? So I identify with that. But I can also say, before I started Localer, I was working at a tech company making $200,000 a year, and I was one of those people who could go to the nice restaurants every single night of the week, travel, drive a nice car, all this stuff, stay in a luxury condo, whatever, that type of thing. And so I know what it's like to be a have, so to speak, in this city, at least economically. And for me, the experience of growing up one way and becoming an adult and professional another way, it gives me a unique lens on the things that connect those audiences, and from a policy standpoint, how to try to connect them. It's funny. I'm playing around with this idea. I've been working on a book for a couple of years. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and share it, and someone's going to probably steal it. But you know what? If someone steals it, God didn't want me to have it. But the name of the book that I've been playing around with is Tokenize. So like the way that Black people are often tokenized, but actually what I mean is token eyes, like my eyes. And the reason why I think of that is because I grew up, in a scenario where statistically I was supposed to be one thing, but now I've got myself, and people have helped me get to another place. And so in a way, whether I'm in a group of people who are under-resourced, underestimated, I'm the token amongst them because I've quote unquote made it. But then if I'm in a room of people who've quote unquote made it, I'm also a token because I'm from where I'm from, So that's part of what's driving me to public office and being interested in it. And then in terms of some particular ideas, I think one big one that jumps out is tech is at an interesting crossroads. I mean, it started around the 2016 election, obviously, but we're really seeing tech can go two different ways. Tech can go the route of Wall Street, where it can be a very maligned. People could literally hate this industry because of what it symbolizes. What it does to affordability issues, what it does to housing issues, all these things, very much like Wall Street. Or it can go the route of a creative industry like art or music or food, where no one hates on the chef at a restaurant that has $100 per plate, nor do they hate on the chef that sells $5 tacos or $1. I mean, inherently, I think what people realize is the chef is a creative. Now, you may not like a particular restaurant because of business practices and whatnot, but the chef, like the musician, like the artist, is a creative. And tech used to be firmly there, where the gamer and the coder was seen as a creative. And I think what's happened is, the McKinsey, Bain, MBA types have kind of come in. They've come from Wall Street in a way to tech and kind of professionalized it in a way that has forced society to rethink what tech could be in our society. And I think that we're at a time where we need people who understand the language of the tech industry, not to assimilate everyone into that, but to really kind of cajole the tech industry to say, hey, we need you to take the economic benefits that you've manifested from this creative industry into tech and find a way to redistribute and share them with the other creative industries that are so valuable, like art, music, food. Like in Austin, for example, if the tech professional moves here from SF, and doesn't support the musician, then Austin isn't going to be the live music capital, which inherently hurts things like South by Southwest, which inherently hurts the tech scene. Mm-hmm. So if you want to protect the thing that you came here for, then you have to protect the thing that was here before you as well. And I want to really create some kind of public-private partnerships and policy around finding ways to tether together the tech industry, where there is a lot of resources and a lot of money, with some of these under-resourced industries in Austin, especially.
Wow. That is awesome, man. I'm listening to these ideas, and it's so clear to me that you're a writer, because your thoughts are really well flushed out and, cohesive. And I also think that from a practitioner standpoint, because, being in politics is hard work, not only from getting policy to get done, but also in running for office. Yeah. And then I think back to one of the things that I mentioned at the top, which is one of the things that you're known for at Local Alert, which is how you went about raising. It wasn't going to big VCs and saying, give me, it was local.
Yeah. I mean, I have 110 angel investors on my cap table. Average check size, the average investor has invested about $50,000, but actually the average check size is like 28,000. So what's happened is about 80% of my investors reinvested, and about 40% of them invested 3 times or more. So it's literally 110 investors spanning 26 cities, including Montreal, Hong Kong, LA, Boston. I mean, all over the country.
And you've leveraged, and I think you would be a new generation public servant, in that you know how to leverage Twitter, you know how to leverage social, you've built mailing lists, you've built digital community, offline community, you write. I mean, I think that you have all the makings of someone that can go and make about, tremendous impact. So we're really excited for where you're going. We're really excited, about also where you've been and how you've traversed through time and space to get to where you are now as well. Because, just hats off. I think you defied odds, and just like the statistical odds of you being in the exact literal seat that you are now, it was improbable, man.
I know. I think about that all the time. I mean, I'm always telling my fiance, I'm telling her how there are moments so often where I'm like, man, I literally feel my ancestors. Like I feel the different struggles that they had to have to even, make me possible. And that's one of the reasons that I am thinking about kind of going into the political arena, because it's like, I have, gotten to a point where I am one of, my guess is maybe a handful of people in Austin who can be in all the different types of rooms that I can be in. So, there are people who are really established as community organizers. There are people who are really established as entrepreneurs. There are people who are really established as like nonprofit people, but I literally can sit in a lot of those rooms and speak the language, understand what they're talking about, and point to things that I've done to earn myself into that room.
100%.
And so yeah, I take it as not like a honor. I really take it as like a duty that, like you said, I'm at this really unique time and place, and what do I do with it?
And that is a question that we are very excited to see you go about and bring into fruition, man. So thank you so much for making time for this conversation. And, we like to keep these light and bright and tease out what the next chapter is going to come about. It's going to be super fun for me, by the way, to look back at this particular conversation because I feel like we're fortunate to catch you right as you're on the brink of, what you'll go on to be even better known for.
I appreciate it. And I mean, that again, the concept behind just 2 simple words, going places, it really, there's so many things you can get out of that. And, even for myself, I'm thinking like, yeah, I guess I am going places, and I couldn't tell you exactly where those places are or what those places are, but I do know, I feel that I'm going somewhere right now actively.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. And we'll catch you next time.